Hello, I'm Leslie, and today on Gamefoodie, we're going to be making some chocolatey, buttery scones. And for you folks out there who are like, I don't like scones, I'm not into biscuits or anything like that, but I guarantee this recipe will change it. This recipe does come together pretty quickly, so let's get right into it. All right, now let's go over our ingredients. So the first thing we have our flour. I have a little bit of sugar because we do want some sweetness. I have a little bit of cold, heavy cream. Since we're making chocolate scones, we do have a little bit of cocoa powder. Now this is natural cocoa powder, not Dutch process. If you don't know the difference, we will go over in another video. I have our baking powder. This is some instant coffee just to bring out the flavor of that chocolate. I got some vanilla. And last but not least, I have a little bit of salt because we do want our scones to have some flavor. All right, now let's go over the ingredients for our glaze. Now for our glaze, we only have 4 simple ingredients. We have our powdered sugar, a bit more cocoa powder. This is a little vanilla. And lastly, a little bit more instant coffee. And I forgot to mention you're gonna need a tablespoon of milk and a tablespoon of cream. You're gonna add those until you get to the consistency that you need for the glaze. And there we have it. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna grab my large bowl. Now to our bowl, I'm gonna grab some flour. We're gonna add our flour to our bowl. Make sure we get all of that out of there without getting that on our hands. Oh well. Next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add our sugar. I have the cocoa powder. Toss that in there. I'm just gonna grab me a spoon as well so I can work with this and clean everything out. Let's get all my cocoa powder out of there. There we go. I have the baking powder, and I'm gonna get that out of there as well. There we go. And then I'm gonna get our salt, and we're gonna pour that in. Add a little bit of this flour. I don't wanna leave it in there, so let's do that. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and mix all my ingredients in like this. Since this is really almost like a biscuit, it doesn't really matter if we have everything, like we have like little specks of cocoa powder still in there. Just as long as you wanna get all of it coated, you know? You don't really have to be that screwed up about it, but I am gonna be. I'm kind of a perfectionist to a certain extent, so that's my own quirk. But if you just kind of roughly mix it in, it works just as good. And that looks perfect right there. So the next thing I want to do, I'm going to go get my butter. 1 second, let me grab it from the fridge. So this is about 10 tablespoons of cold butter that I just had sitting in the refrigerator. And I'm going to go ahead and add it in there. Just add that one last one in there. Now, when I said this is like biscuits, this is exactly what it is. Or you could really consider this kind of like a pie crust. What we want to do is take our bench scraper, and then we're going to just go ahead and break these pieces of butter up inside the flour mixture. This can be kind of hard because this is frozen butter, because I want to keep everything cold. But either way, what we're trying to do is we're going to cut this into here. And if you use the food processor, this is even easier though. But I like to make recipes and show people that you don't need all those fancy gadgets just to do anything. So I'm just gonna take my bench scraper. I'm gonna continue to push this and crumble the butter inside the dough. We're inside the flour, because ain't no dough yet. This actually becomes easier as you do it. So you just keep cracking in the butter until we get them to small pea-sized pieces. One thing I never understood, like, why do people make scones seem like they're so fancy or anything like that? I'm not sure if it was the British that made that into a thing. I feel the same way about crumpets. People make crumpets seem like they're so fancy, but they're really almost like a English muffin, just slightly different, you know, and they're not very sweet. Because scones, I feel like, can be the same way. Scones are not always very sweet either. These scones aren't super sweet, but they are. I wanted more sugar in them, because I wanted them just to be a little bit sweeter. Also, if your kitchen is pretty hot, You do probably want to just pop this in the refrigerator every now and then, just let the butter cool down, because you don't want it to be melting. Because as you work it and as it sits, the butter does soften. And just like pie crust, we do want to make sure everything stays cold. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. See, those pea-sized pieces of butter that we want. Now I'm going to put my bench scraper to the side. I'm going to grab me a spoon. What we're going to do next, I have my coffee. I'm just going to pour my coffee in, just drizzle over there like that. And then I have my vanilla extract. Pour that in too. We should clean all that out. Now for the cream, I'm going to pour just a little bit of the cream right now. So get that right there. Now I'm just going to go start mixing this in. Now we do want to be gentle with our mixing here. We don't want to overly mix it because we'll start developing glue and that'll make the scones tough. So we don't want to do that. As dry as this is, I think I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of that in here. Just going to drizzle it. Here we go. And then I'm going to take another spoon and I'm going to just scrape all that out of there. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and just I'm just doing a kind of a cutting motion. So I'm kind of cutting that cream into there. I just want the cream to moisten the flour mixture. We got still a little bit of dryness right in there. So I do want to kind of cut it with the spoon, the edge of the spoon, and just to work it. But I'm going to grab my other spoon. I'm going to kind of clean this off just a little bit, because that dough is just clinging to it. And I think right here is the texture I want, right there. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn it out onto our bench. See those dry bits? That is perfectly normal. Look at that. Next, I'm gonna use my bench scraper to help me. I'm gonna start pushing all this together. You see all those dry bits as you work, it's gonna get incorporated. So don't worry if it appears to be too dry. What's gonna happen is the dry bits are gonna get hydrated by the moisture that we already have in here. So I'm just pushing this together, using my bench scraper like that. I'm kind of putting it in kind of a rough square. And I'm gonna kind of turn it like that and push it down. We're gonna keep working it. This is getting a little soft as well. If you're working it and the dough again gets soft, remember you can just toss this in the refrigerator a little bit because we want to keep our butter cold here. So I'm gonna keep folding it on there, look like that. You see that right there? That's what we're doing is we're folding, we're creating layers. And that's what the butter do. It's almost like a semi-lamination. It's kind of like what you see when you're making rough puff pastry. And that's what make our scones light. So we're gonna fold that. You're at one end right there and fold that onto itself as well. See this square? That's exactly what we want. Now, the next thing I'm gonna do, since this is getting soft, I'm gonna grab my bowl again and I'm gonna place it right here back into my bowl. Now we're gonna go ahead and refrigerate this until it's cold again, then we can work with it further. All right, so this is the scones from the refrigerator. Just gonna go ahead and get this out of here. It's a lot stiffer. And what's good about this, as you can see, you see those individual things of butter? That's perfectly perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now I have my tape measure here, and we want to make this at least 6 inches across, and we want at least 1 inch thick. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm going to take my bench scraper, and I'm going to go ahead and cut them down with the first one, like that. First in half. Then we're gonna cut them, let me turn that slightly, cut them into fourths. Like that. Again, kind of messy, but that's fine. Then I'm gonna take my fours, cut them across here. Like so, like that. I've been listening to 2 minutes Tabitha Brown. And then I'm gonna take these two, well, I'm gonna just do it like that for that right there. And I'm just gonna take that individual like that. There we go. So that what that does, that gives us 8 individual pieces. And look at that, look at that. You can see those individual butter, that's gonna be perfect. So I have a cookie sheet, and I'm gonna move my bench strip out the way. I'm gonna put these on our cookie sheet. I got all 8 arranged on my cooking sheet. If you notice, I do have them spaced out just that way they can plump and they can have a little bit of space to grow. We're gonna go ahead and bake this on 375 for 14 to 16 minutes. I would just check them like halfway through it, that way to make sure that they don't overbrown or don't overcook. I'll see you then. All right, now let's make our glaze. So I'm gonna grab a medium bowl and a whisk, and I'm gonna add the powdered sugar. Just clean out this bowl. Cocoa powder. Clean that out as well. I'm just gonna kind of blend those in together like that. Kind of break up just those bigger clumps of sugar. This is some of my instant coffee. Vanilla extract. The next thing I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of milk. I'm not really gonna measure this. Oh, I thought I opened this. Now again, I'm just gonna eyeball this. I'm gonna say a tablespoon. Just gonna go ahead and close that up. And a tablespoon of cream. So again, I'm just gonna eyeball it. Yeah, that's about enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start mixing this together. And if I need to add more, I will. What we're really just looking for is a consistency where we can just drizzle this all over our scones. You see, we got a lot of lumps right now, but it's fine. That's why we're using the whisk, so we can try to break up those lumps. Look at that. Look how smooth that's getting. See that? Look at that. Like chocolate. That's the consistency that I want. As you can see, when I pull it, it falls on and holds its shape just a little bit before it melts right there back into the rest of the glaze. So this is perfect. All right, I got the scones fresh from the oven. Now look at those. Now don't they look nice? As you can see the layers right between each of these scones. This one kind of fell over a little bit, which is fine. You know, sometimes that'll happen. But these are the type of layers that we want. This is why we wanted those extra pockets of butter. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and let this cool completely, and then we'll go ahead and glaze them. All right, our scones are now completely cooled. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna grab my spatula here. I'm gonna go ahead and take them off of my cookie sheet. I'm gonna put them on a wire rack or a cookie rack. Just gonna give them enough space between each one of them. Okay, we're gonna put this over to the side right here. In fact, I may just put it up under this. That way we'll have a way to catch it. So now what we wanna do, now that all of them are there, what I'm gonna do is take my glaze, just gonna whisk it just slightly again, you know, just to liquefy it a little bit more. I'm gonna take my whisk and just put it over here. So I'm gonna take my glaze and I'm gonna just get a little bit of it. And we're gonna take one of them and we're gonna drizzle. So I'm just gonna drizzle this all over this one. Just look how that drizzle just lays on there. That's exactly what we want. Now, doesn't that look nice? Another thing you can do is you can take one of the scones and you can put it like face down inside of your glaze like that. And as you can see, you can get it just coated like that if you wanted like a solid coverage. I'm just gonna go ahead and continue on just glazing the rest of my scones. All right, now our scones are glazed. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and just get a plate and we're gonna serve them up nicely. I'm gonna take one of our drizzled ones. Place that right there. I think I'll do like 2 of the drizzled ones and then 2 of the dipped ones. Right there. And right there, we have 4 of those. Those look very nice right there. I'm gonna just place the other ones to the side. All right, now to finish, I'm gonna go ahead and place strawberries to garnish. And there we go. That's our chocolate scones. Now look how nice those look. Now, of course, we have to try one. So what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna get one from there, but I'm just gonna grab one from the side here. Look at this. And the first thing, of course, we have to get a break. Look at that. Look at that. Look how nice that looks. See how it tears apart right there? I'm gonna put it right here. See that crumb? Look at that. Look how soft that is. Oh, flaky, buttery, and it also has the right amount of sweetness, you know? Because sometimes I find scones are not sweet enough. This would be perfect with tea or even coffee. Now, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, all my recipes are listed in the description. Well, that's it for today. This recipe is simply delicious. I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the rest of these scones. I'll see you in the next one.